What's going on, guys? I hope you all have been enjoying your Friday. It's been rather consistent with my previous analysis. Pretty cool. Not gonna lie, I did call uh, price to go down 1.5%, and not gonna lie, holy crap, like it went down at the time I was recording, it went down roughly like 1.49. Not bad. Then on the 1 hour, the 9 AMA got like, uh, picked up as support and kind of is, so far so good, in terms of price, still making ground. Now, I wanted to show you guys something in regards to the intraday stuff, so I'm going to go with like the 1 hour and the 4 hour only. I don't think the daily is just, especially with the weekend coming up, it really fudges the data. So that being said, I'm mostly just going to do the hourly and the 4 hour today. Okay, so I am going to go with the TSI. So the TSI is actually seeing resistance at the 25 mark. Usually this is kind of like the first inclination of a pullback. Um, it's been kind of choppy AF, like very, very choppy. And it's getting to the point where divergences are starting to pop up, I've noticed. So as you can see, the trend of the TSI is heading to the downside like that. Okay. Now we have price going the opposite direction, as you can see here. Oh crap. I don't think I did that properly. Boom. There you go. All right, so uh, seeing some divergences on the 1 hour. Okay, so as I've said before, usually those are signs of bearish activity. Now, there could be a couple more waiting in the pipeline, but given as it could be even this particular 1 hour candle, you see when the 9 EMA breaks from support to resistance, which is kind of like getting very close at this time, or even when candles start getting comfortable down here, or they start getting comfortable down here, that's usually a sign of weakening trend. So that seeing that on the 9 EMA plus in conjunction with the bearish divergences on the 1 hour, I'm starting to get a little bit concerned here, not gonna lie. Um, Now, I don't want to cry wolf or anything, but usually when that happens, you know, I wouldn't be surprised to see price actually break through the 21 EMA and actually come down here. At that point, we will see a reaction to the upside or to the downside. Now, given that this is what I would argue one, two, this would be the third touch point. Usually, in major moves, uh, on the third try, it weakens the support, and I usually see breaks on the fourth, but given that it is a Friday and weekend price actions coming, and there was kind of like a lot of good positive euphoria and news overall, um, in general in regards to, Polygon partnering with Disney, for example, and Celsius and Voyager, they're going through their Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which is actually good for the creditors. So a creditor in the case of Celsius and Voyager is actually the users. So when you file Chapter 11 bankruptcy, it's the creditors who actually get paid out first in the process once they liquidate assets and they have to, disperse funds and all that kind of stuff. They're reorganizing. So what's interesting about that, and I'm kind of getting lost in the weeds at this point, but if Voyager and Celsius filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, that would have sucked ass for everyone involved in regards to whoever touched the platform. That would have sucked big a-holes, okay? But actually, it's Chapter 11, so there could be some positive news coming out in the pipeline. So, um, I'm pretty active on crypto Twitter. For some people to, get that news, it was pretty good news. So, good news is bad news on the weekend, essentially, is what I'm kind of coming across. So, we've had this, I would say, well, like a day or so. Um, I would argue it started here. Heading now here. It's been like a little over 2 days of like bullishness. given that this is a rising channel, has yet to break structure, I'm kind of calling wolf in regards to the bearish momentum, but given, like I said, the timing of everything, I just think that it's about time this breaks. Now, I could be completely wrong, okay? Could be completely wrong. It has yet to tag actually the 21.256, and it's yet to tag major resistance line at 20.8 and 20.7. That has yet to be tagged as well. So I could be calling wolf here. The channel has yet to break. I'm kind of just mentally preparing myself for a pretty substantial bear move at this point. Uh, a substantial would kind of be along the lines of maybe like a 4 to 5%. Yeah, maybe like a 6% move. It'd be nice to see if it does break down and it kind of has an opportunity to create a higher low here. I think that would be cool, maybe like 6.4%. I'm just talking out of my a-hole at this time, but that's kind of like what my mindset is going. Anywho, so we had talked about this yesterday. The MACD crossed, well, was on the verge of crossing, and there was volatility. As you can see here, there was kind of a fake out. Well, not necessarily a fake out to the downside, but there was consolidation, kind of like what I was expecting the other day. Pretty substantial. I mean, like a 1.8% move is pretty substantial in any market. Um, but yeah, that's kind of playing out at this time. Now, in regards to the bars are starting to get real comfortable turning from bullish to neutral. So, as you can see, what happens uh, when the MACD goes from bullish to neutral, after the neutral phase, it does tend to come to the downside. So, keeping my eye on that. Oh, that is my Discord. I will leave that on, I guess, for now. Anywho, let's go with the TSI. The TSI actually says price will continue to rise as long as price is above 20,673 bucks. All right, and also that it did cross. Let me go back to it. Yeah, it did cross the TSI, which is good. But in order for I would say anything constructive, there is this trend line I am keeping my eye on actually. Right there. So, there's maybe a couple more hours until that's tested. Now, it doesn't mean that it won't break, right? It doesn't mean that it won't break, but just the fact that I am seeing that topside resistance, given that this is a 4 hour actually. Whoops, I completely skipped the 1 hour. Let me go to the 1 hour. Sorry about that. Holy crap, that was a huge omission. Yep. Okay, that aligns. Let me go back to the. Okay, this completely changes the storyline. Yeah, on the 1 hour, we're already getting crosses down. We're getting some, waning bullish momentum. We do have a bearish divergence right here. Yeah, we do still have a trend to the upside, as you can see. So, usually the real parabolic moves to the downside don't really begin until these bars start printing below that trend line. So, I mean, yeah, there's still time to quote unquote get out or set up for a short, not financial advice. All right, as you can see on the 1 hour, we have not one but two divergences of bearish. Now we had a hidden bullish divergence. Like I said, hidden bullish divergences are weaker than traditional divergences. Yeah, hidden bullish or bearish divergences are weaker than actual legit bullish or bearish divergences. So hidden are super weak. So as you see, we had the bearish divergence, then we kind of had like a little relief weak bullish hidden bearish divergence. Then now we're back to red baby. Anywho, we are going down in my opinion in regards to momentum. We kind of have like that hill kind of playing out. Okay, now also, once again, and I did mention this the other day, that the RSI did get rejected off of the bullish control zone, and it's also printing here some divergences. So there's divergences galore on the bearish spectrum at this time. It's really hard to ignore because every indicator that I have is printing some form of bearish divergence and legitly confirming them. Also, here on the TMA, we did have a bearish divergence. Pretty weak. But as you can see, this last hour candle actually did print below once again. So we had two candles print below. Now we have a third candle. So as you can see, momentum is starting to wane a little bit to the downside. Now, I wouldn't necessarily call it quits at this time. We, like I said before, we have yet to really legitly cross into the bearish, sorry, into the overbought territory. I believe last video I called this oversold by mistake, but yeah, I meant overbought. So this is the oversold territory. So when this indicator comes down here, that means it is oversold. That means that it's just irrationally low bargain bin prices. Now here it's just like, okay, like if you're buying it like at a premium. Yeah, so anywho, we have yet to cross at this point, so that's kind of interesting. I do like using this particular um, tool and kind of gauging tops or bottoms, more so on the 4 hour as opposed to the 1 hour. Ooh, this is interesting. So I'm going to transition to the 4 hour already since I've already kind of done a little bit of it. All right, we did cross. Now, that's interesting. We crossed, but we never officially back tested the 50 line as support. So that's interesting. So maybe within the next day or two, we could have like a little bit of consolidation and then a pump, maybe like a revenge pump to the upside to then go into the oversold territory. Kind of like something like this right here. Actually, this is perfect. It looks relatively similar in terms of price action. So you see we kind of like crossed. We had that like fake out dump to then, reverse and then validate it as support. Then we had that pump. Now we're kind of in that phase where yes, it's coming down and we could have another opportunity of a higher low. So that's interesting. That's kind of like an anomaly versus to what else I'm looking at. So yeah, on the 4 hour, the trend is your friend till the end. Let me see. I would actually wait on the 4 hour on this one just because it is the weekend and stuff like that. So usually the lower term time frames are very scammy, if you will. Even the 4 hour to agree is a little bit of a scam situation going on. But as you can see, in this particular instance, from the last touch point, from the lowest higher low, if you will, yeah, we're kind of getting a potential resolution on this 4 hour, as you can see, where it is kind of teasing to go a little bit lower, or at least breaking trend. So that's kind of concerning in a macro standpoint. Now, it could still cross below the slow moving average and still bounce off of the bearish control zone and create a higher low, right? So we could still see a weekend dump, but constructively create a higher low at the end of the day. So yeah, that's kind of intriguing. Yeah, but as far as no sell signal at this time, maybe on the 2 hour, which is a precursor to the 4 hour, we are getting a bearish divergence. So yeah, the correction, in my opinion, will be pretty substantial. Let me see here. Let me go to the 2 hour and kind of just gauge what I am looking at. So, okay, so the last peak was right here. But notice we did get multiple bearish divergences before we actually pumped and then kind of got that real dump. So from my perspective, we could kind of like teeter-totter in here. Maybe price could go all the way down to the 100 EMA, bounce near it, then kind of come back up. That's kind of my assumption, given that multiple indicators are kind of showing, yes, there is a consolidation phase, but this consolidation phase could be weak. Since the EMAs are fresh in the green, if you will, fresh bullish. So yeah, the 9 EMA has been tested as support here and there. But yeah, the 100 has yet to legitly get tested at this point. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, and like I said in previous um, in previous videos, I have yet to see my support and resistance tool really fire off in terms of topside resistance. So from my perspective, this actually could just be a consolidation phase until a movement to another upside move to then eventually print like that final divergence that's really gonna like, change structure in some way, which I don't think we're there at this point, but it's kind of interesting to see in real time. Um, but yeah, going back to the 4 hour, um, you can see momentum is coming down, but the slow moving average is still bullish, given that it's still the color of blue. Interesting here on the 4 hour on the market cipher indicator, we are kind of getting a curve here. We're kind of getting that curve. So we're kind of like, could do something like that potentially. Just, conjecture and stuff like that. Not gonna lie, I still like the money flow. As you can see from the previous dumps it's had, it's just gotten weaker and weaker in terms of strength. Let me do that one more time. What? Oh, I see now, I see. Whoopsie daisy. I keep forgetting that that's the actual thing I wanted to click. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, the momentum is waning to the downside, to the upside, I apologize. Now, momentum could be on the verge of peaking, but in terms of overall money flow, as it stands, the buyers are outweighing the sellers. The sellers are either running out of capital or they've just pushed down a price so much to where it's just you can't push it down anymore. Um, Now, like I said, momentum is nearing the 60 line, okay? So there could be a consolidation move. It would be a decent consolidation move, but what I want to see is I'm sorry, not price, this blue wave go from the top side to the downside and print a smaller wave than the previous to then kind of really create that large trigger wave. This large trigger wave, if that actually happens, that large trigger wave would really change overall price structure. And we're even talking about potentially breaking out of this particular pattern structure where we can actually definitively say, okay, we're no longer in a consolidation phase, we're actually in a parabolic move to the upside. But keep in mind, look how much resistance is above this thing. Like on a weekly, on a daily, and on a monthly time frame, we have various forms of resistance, like a lot. Okay, we even have zones. We have like zero price act. Well, we have very little price action in this particular zone to where I just out of like um, truth, if you will, just out of like lack of data, I have to assume this entire zone is thick in resistance. Okay, now that's way ahead. I'm going way ahead of current trend. But at this time, yeah, you just kind of have to like consider it. Now, some caveats here. Um, the candles on the Heikinashi are still printing bullish colors. Now, as you can see, these wicks on the bottom of these last two 4 hour candles actually indicate weakness. So that's kind of cool to see. It's interesting. Usually, with Heikinashi candles, when they're flat on the top or bottom, that just indicates strong trend. And at this time, this does not indicate strength. This indicates, I would argue, nearing indecision, which is to be, which is to be understood because, price just completely knifed through the 21 EMA and the 100 EMA on the 4 hour. So, a lot of people are confused at this time. So yeah, there's going to be random buyers and sellers. I mean, honestly, I took out profits like yesterday. I think I got like a 5% profit on this. I could have held longer and actually gotten more profit. I actually would have gotten if right. That's the big if, right? Like you can never time the exact top to the dollar, but if I had held in, I could have gotten 8.8%. You know what I mean? But I'm content. I'm content with the 5%. You got to be content with your wins, guys. You got to be content with your wins. You have to appreciate the wins when they come by. But anyway, going back to it, we did have a bullish engulfing candle on the 4 hours, so my line in the sand at this time would be to see this 4 hour actually hold. Because if it is a bullish engulfing candle and it holds, because the 4 hour actually held the 9 EMA, as you can tell. Even the parabolic SAR, as you can see, I'm going to zoom in really close. The little dot right here is the parabolic SAR indicator. Oh, I can't even, I'm zoomed in so much I can't even circle things. That's cool. Okay, but that little dot is the parabolic SAR. So bears were trying their hardest to change trend. So if bears were successful in tagging that at 20.611, that would have changed the entire structure of this current last 4 hours, because that would have been a candle close below the 9 EMA. And like I said before, for a lot of traders, the 9 EMA is kind of like an indicator of real-time trend. That usually signifies continuation of the downside. Now um, it's not like a foolproof thing. Obviously, you have to have other things outside of the candles working because, like I said before, you need multiple things saying the same thing. You can't just rely on one thing, right? But yeah, candle closes um, are usually a pretty strong indicator of a potential trend reversal. But it's so early in regards to this bullish momentum, given that price hasn't even been above the exponential moving averages for all that long. So it's kind of tough for me to really call it at this point, given that there was recently I would say how many candles were above, yeah, above it. I would argue 2 days, right? 2 days, almost 3 days, 4 hours away of being 3 days. So I don't know. I mean, like, unless this is a weaker pump, and I don't really see my indicators. Let me go to the 37-minute time frame. There is this line of resistance right here that, so, interesting. Not too sure if that's showing up. Okay. Let me go to the 24-minute. Oh, the 24-minute showing resistance. Interesting. Okay, so we are getting pretty substantial resistance. Let me see the money flow. Actually, wow, this could be a trigger wave to the upside. Yeah. Okay. So it's kind of slow right now for the lower time frames. So I'm going to be doing a little bit more intraday stuff. This is more so for like scalping, all that jazz, but I'm only going to do it to analyze what the next couple hours are going to be about. So I am seeing kind of like this trigger wave at this time. The money flow is kind of lower, um, but I would argue that it is still maintaining structure in terms of trend. So trend is to the upside regarding money flow, and momentum is also trending to the upside on the very, very low time frames. Keep in mind this is like weekend territory, so this could get invalidated within a heartbeat, okay? So this is not really financial advice, it's just more so conjecture, given that I have such limited data at this time in the lower term time frames. But given that price on the 1 hour is showing consistent resistance, or like at least resistance, um, one after the other, that does show weakness, not gonna lie. It did tag the oversold, I'm sorry, the overbought territory, but it still has higher highs and higher lows. Now, this may be classified as a lower low, and it is crossing down on the 25. That's not relatively strong, but I wouldn't see a huge move to the downside until these EMAs cross below the 0 line. And I think last video I called this the 50 line. My apologies, this is the 0 line. Alrighty. So what can I conclude from everything that we just saw? I would say on the lower term time frames, like on the hourly, for example, we are starting to see weakness. Now, money flow is still green, so I wouldn't necessarily call it quits for the bulls, But I would say that like I think we're nearing um I would say like a phase to where there's room for bears to take advantage of this. Do I think it's gonna dump tonight? Oof. Mm, I don't think so because the money flow hasn't turned red yet. Now, my mindset will change when that is the case. Now, I don't like zooming out. I don't like that money flow is lower, like a lower low, and then this currently is a higher low. I mean a lower high, a lower high. So positive money flows creating a lower high, and negative money flow printed a lower low. So not a big fan of that, to be honest. So that's why I still am a believer that because you can see it yourself. Like just pay it. Let me zoom this out. Let me shrink this actually, and then let me zoom in. Just whoops, my bad. Let me just zoom into the money flow. And by the way, this is Market Cipher, the indicator tool. Yeah, you can check it out on the description below. It's actually pretty freaking cool. I can't trade without this thing, frankly. It's freaking badass. But anyway, as you can see where the money flow crosses from green to red, it's pretty obvious, what happens here, right? So when it turns green, when it turns red, um, when it turns green. Technically it started here, so yeah. But even if you held, there was kind of a fake out, but like if you had the balls of steel, um, yeah, you could you would still get a decent profit. Like even if you bought the very top and you held it, you'd still be up like 3%, 4% currently. Um, but yeah, obviously I don't like doing those crosses. Myself, I don't like to just rely on that, but it's a really good tool. It's a very nice indicator in regards to overall trend and everything like that. So that's why I put a lot of onus into money flow and I talk about it a lot. But yeah, but in conjunction with like all these other tools, it just makes it really easy to read and all that jazz. But anywho, uh, yeah, I'm not a big fan of like current money flow and all that kind of stuff now. There is somewhat of a divergence, um, where this was lower than, well, actually this was higher than this one. Yeah, that's okay. I'm kind of like fumbling on my words here, but there is some form of macro divergence. It is kind of bearish, dude. Not gonna lie, it's pretty bearish. But anyway, I'm kind of going off in the weeds here. Well, just to overall bundle everything together, on the 2 hour, we're starting to see bearish divergence. I do expect to see that um, over time on the 4 hour at some point, maybe. I don't see a doji candle, so when I see a doji. I mean, this one was pretty intense, but I would say this was the cleanest doji. When I see dojis at the end of a trend, like this, for example, that's when I am super ready to initiate a move. Um, we don't have that just yet here. So I don't feel confident opening up any shorts at this time from a macro standpoint. Now, let me see on the 1 hour. 1 hour, same, honestly. Um, you could argue you had this little one right here, but it was like just a quick pump and dump. Like it was only 3 hours of bearishness and really like I don't like to trade against the trend. So when the exponential moving averages are still bullish, meaning they're still in the teal color, I don't like shorting. I don't like shorting at all. I usually just wait until a 9 and 21 EMA cross, not financial advice, but I like the 9 crossing the 21 EMA. And my indicators here on the market side for indicator, I've calibrated the colors to actually change from teal to red. That you can customize the market side for indicator like that. And that's kind of how I have it. I have the 9 EMA yellow because I just always want to know where it's at. Yellow is a very poppy color for the eyes. Red and yellow are the colors that the eyes pick up the most. So yeah, that's why I have the 9 EMA yellow. Anywho, okay, I'm gonna call it quits at this point. Yeah, I hope this was constructive. I know I was kind of like all over the place, but I think yeah, I'm still ultimately cautiously bullish at this time. Now, until the 4-hour bullish engulfing candle invalidates itself, which it has yet to, I'm still ultimately bullish. And yeah, these haven't been tagged or anything like that. It would make sense to see reactions here, which we haven't even touched yet. Now, I think it was the 1 hour. Yeah. So if you notice this 1 hour, we had this like bullish engulfing candle pumped to the upside, and it was kind of the basis of support for a little while, and then it just broke down. We have yet to test that point, so I would definitely wait and see what happens with that. This is this is the most key level at this time for me. Maybe even up here, but that's that's hours away. That's potentially like days away, frankly. Yeah, it's potentially like almost, yeah, could be days away from ever seeing that. Alrighty, but as far as that's concerned, the 1 hour, oh hey, okay, yeah. The 1 hour bullish engulfing candle here too. These are key levels right here. So if I see like an hourly candle close below this, or 4 hour candle close below this, yeah, I would kind of really reconsider the overall trend. But anyway, yeah, hope this was informative. Take care. Have a great weekend. Be safe out there. There's some crazy people out there. But yeah, have a good night, and thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I appreciate you. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Yeah, I'm going to be doing more of these videos and such, and yeah, let me know if you're interested in me analyzing like altcoins or stocks or anything like that, or bonds if you're into stuff like that. All this stuff does transition into traditional markets as well. But yeah, let me know in the comments below. All right, take care. Have a great one. Have a good night. Bye bye.